But when we delve into dream interpretation, we have to delve into my own Odu, right? And the Odu of Irete Suka or 𝘃cie 𝗂𝗋𝗲 is actually where the interpretation of things manifested. But the first thing that was interpreted from an esoteric spiritual standpoint was dreams. So Olódùmarè held a council, and he invited all the babalaos to come to be able to answer questions for him, because he would find himself in profound thought. And there were even aspects of Ifa that he didn't fully understand, even though he created it and it was his voice, you know, which is really ironic to think that God doesn't fully understand himself. You know, another ironic thing people don't want to accept is we're really here just to enjoy ourselves and treat each other well. There's really no other reason for us. We don't necessarily benefit the ecosystem. Eyobe says that Olódùmarè was lonely and he wanted to, you know, have someone to interact with and be entertained and not be alone. That's kind of where the Orishas come from and things like that as well, to be able to handle things for him. Some people say that Olódùmarè is sleeping right now, and that's why we have the Orishas and we pray to them instead of to him directly. So neither here nor there. He was going through a moment of introspection, and he invited the babalaos to help clarify some things about his own voice, or Ifa. So when they got there, he asked all of them one singular question. He said, "What is the world?" And all of them gave their different answers, right? Oh, the world is this, the world is that. But he was dissatisfied. He was like, none of you are really giving me that answer that I need to be able to move forward or feel confident with what I've accomplished, you know? And I really don't want to erase everything and start again, even though he's done that a couple times via flood. And he said, is anyone missing? So there were 255 babalaos there, and the only one that was missing was Irete Otura, or Irete Suka. And he said, well, why isn't he here? And the other babalaos didn't want to say it, but they actually didn't invite him because they were worried about his interpretive skill, because he was a very wise babalao. So he said, okay, no one knows why he's not here, then let's go to him. Take me to his home. So they started heading towards his house. So Irete Suka in this padaki, his name was Ifa Kamnanche, which means whatever Ifa says will happen. And he was a potter. Once again, the pottery is a very strong theme within Ifa. It makes reference to the clay, and they say that clay is what really forms our body, you know, and they say, you know, not to be too crude, but if you ever look at gray matter within the brain, it kind of looks like clay. You know, it's basically fat, right? So when he was at home, he would be working all day and making his pottery and selling it and things like that. Kind of like Ayala, the constructor of heads, would. And he would fall asleep. This is the Odu of narcolepsy. So if you guys ever see me tired or whatever, you know, I'm tired. But so he fell asleep and he had this wild dream. And he saw three things. The first thing he saw was Eshu come into his home and take paint and smear it on the inside of the bowl that he was constructing. The next person that came in was Shango, and Shango came and threw a lightning bolt into the bowl. And the third person to come in was Olofin, or Olódùmarè, and he basically sat down and used the bowl as a toilet bowl.
Oh.
So at that moment, he heard a knock, right? And he woke up, and he went to the door and he said, who is it? He said, Olódùmarè. And when he opened the door, it was Olódùmarè and his 255 siblings. And he said, oh, hello, brothers. It's been so long. And Olódùmarè said, you don't accept invites? He said, I didn't know I was invited to anything. He said, no, I had the council and you weren't there. And he's like, I didn't know. No one told me about it. Olódùmarè looked at the other babalaos like, okay, I see what's going on here. And Olódùmarè looked at Irete Suka and said, I have a question for you. I hope you can answer it for me. And Irete Suka said, I will do my best. And he said, what is the world? And Irete Suka looked at Olódùmarè and he said, man, I don't know what rabbit hole to pull this answer out of. Really? But he remembered his dream. And when he looked at the bowl, all of the things that were in the dream were now in the bowl. And he said, Father, the world is whatever is in that bowl. And when Olódùmarè looked in the bowl, he said, my son, you're right. The world is crap. And, yeah. And Olódùmarè was very pleased. He was very pleased. He said, this is a perfect depiction of the world. Some parts of it are beautiful. Some parts of it are ugly. But at the end of the day, it's a circus and it's wild and we'll never fully understand it. And he was very pleased with Irete Suga, and he said, your blessing will be that of interpretation. You will be the interpreter of Ifa. You will be the person who's able to get this information and dissect it and regurgitate it in a way where people are able to digest it. And Irete Suga was like, man, I'm just a potter. He's like, not anymore. And 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗲 ordered Irete Suga to leave the fields and the pottery and things like that and to go be his personal babalao. So Irete Suga's job after that every day was to wake up and consult 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗲. Like Irete Suga is 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗲 or 𝗀 right? So all from a dream. So when we interpret this pataki, Ifa says that even 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗲, even the orishas, even us as beings, the first form of divination from a very bombastic standpoint was dream interpretation. And it literally changed Irete Suga's life. So when I look at my own parallels, and after I pulled that Odu, and realizing that the leopard was in my sign, that the reptiles were in my sign, that, Irete Suga fell from heaven, right? And, got caught on the back of a vulture who saved his life. Ironically, I'm a son of 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲. Like all of these things started lining up to me. And then I also remembered the story of the dream that I had with my father, right? And realizing that that dream was a message to motivate me and spur me into action to make it into the room, and thus pulling that sign really confirmed all of that. So just really speaks of the importance of this aspect of our spirituality, because a lot of people say, no, dream interpretation and things like that is 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲, spiritism, where it has huge spiritual connotations because it's literally a reflection of what our spirit is doing when we're asleep,